Okay, we'll now speak to Marco Vicenzino, who's a geopolitical analyst and director of Global Strategy Project, joining us from New York. Welcome back to Al Jazeera. How much of a challenge is security going to be in the country? And which part of the country do you see as perhaps the most complicated going forward?
Security is key. We've ended, I think, the current interim government, the HDS transitional government, its honeymoon period is over. Okay, we're entering a new phase of uncertainty, and in that new phase, the interim government is facing the challenges of establishing political order internally, and also the security factor, which also involves the foreign players. The parts of the country that I would say are most critical right now is the northeast of the country, particularly where you have the Syrian National Army against the U.S.-backed Syrian Democratic Forces. And those are areas which the central government does not control. And it's largely one part being Turkish-backed, the other part being U.S.-backed, and you have foreign powers pursuing their own interests inside Syria in an area where the government doesn't control. Obviously, you also have the Islamic State factor, and then you have remnants of the former regime, of the former Assad regime, in different parts, in the western part of the country, particularly in the coastal regions. But I would say the most complicated one right now is in the northeast of the country, because in the northeast also is we have the oil fields. And it's important that in order to finance reconstruction, you need access to funds from those oil fields eventually. And then also the fact that when you talk about that Turkish-U.S. element side, that diplomatic element with foreign powers pursuing their own interests, in order for the transitional government to get off the terror list and to have sanctions lifted and to finance its reconstruction, it needs to play a very careful game with external powers. Hence, the situation for the initial euphoria is gone of the Assad regime fall. We're entering this new stage. And to skeptics, this is entering a new phase in Syria's near 14-year civil war.
Right. So on that point, when it comes to the SDF and the SNA, now we see confrontations between the two. Where does this leave the new Syrian administration, and how does it deal with this going forward?
It's struggling to strike a balance. Once again, oil fields in the northeast and the access, and you need to get off the terrorism list and lifting of sanctions. It needs money. It needs finance. And the foreign powers such as Turkey and the U.S. will be playing key roles in this. But it's going to reach a point eventually where they're going to have to choose sides more firmly. And I think what they're waiting for right now is to see how things play out between the SNA and the SDF. And whichever side seems to be gaining an upper hand, I think they'll be putting their, not putting their eggs all in one basket at this stage, but this wait and see approach, and then take a more favorable side to the side that's emerging more seems to be more victorious. It's going to be the side that serves its interest in the longer term, but it's kind of a wait. The same way that the outsiders are playing a wait-and-see game with the internal situation in Syria, the current interim government, I think to a large extent, is having a wait-and-see approach to the conflict in the northeast of the country.
Okay, Marco Vicenzino, geopolitical analyst and director of Global Strategy Project, speaking to us from New York. Thank you so much.
Thank you.